Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is Rabi Mahmood, your lecturer. In our previous lecture, we have started with a brief description to the course. We have also looked at the course contents, and today we are going to start with our first topic, that is, what is language. So, let's start describing different characteristic features of the language, and let's see that what it actually is. Language is basically an open-ended system of a finite number of symbols that permits its users to convey, encode, communicate unlimited amounts and kinds of data. Fine. The very first thing that defines language is that this is an open-ended system. This is not one single thing. This is a system that is open-ended, that allows some new entries in it as well. It's an open-ended system of finite numbers of symbols. It's, what we think about language, we think that this is about the words, about the sounds. This is not only about the words and the sounds only, but also it is about symbols. Actually, the researchers show that language is more about the symbols, symbols that are a combination both of the sounds as well as of the words. So, the first thing that we understand about the language is that language is an open-ended system. It is open-ended, it's a system, it's not one single thing. System of what? The system of finite number of symbols. It's a system of symbols, fine, that permits its users to convey, encode, communicate unlimited amounts and kinds of data. These symbols are allowed to the users of a language to convey, to speak, to convey and to encode, to provide an input and to let them communicate on the unlimited amounts and the kinds of data, thought, feelings and narratives, the whole range of ideas and emotions and events that make up a person's mental life. So language is not a simple thing. It's a complicated phenomena if we look at it from a scientific point of view, from the point of view of the research. Then we say that this is not about the symbols only, this is not about the sounds only, this is not about the words only, but this is more about the thoughts, the feelings the person feels. This is about the narratives that the people have got to share with the people. The whole range of ideas and emotions and events that make up a person's mental life. Language encompasses all, that people are nothing. We are nothing if we don't have language. It is if we are emotional, if we are feeling something, we express all those feelings, all those emotions. If we think about something, if we have some ideas, definitely we are going to give and to share our ideas with others just by the use of language. This is what we can say it's a complete picture of one's life, one's mental life. A person using a human language can talk about what happened yesterday, today, tomorrow, a mythical past, a fictional present and imaginary futures. Definitely, language is not restricted to one thing, to one era. Language is far-reaching. It is very, very vast. It is not one single thing. As we said in the beginning of our definition, the language is an open-ended system. It is open, where it allows new entries. This is not restricted to the time. This is not specific to the situation. This is not specific to some certain context. It is quite open. It may involve the past. It may involve the future. It is about the present things as well. A human language can be used to pass on knowledge whose surface is first-hand or not, stories which are entertaining or boring, statements which are true or false. So this is another aspect of language, that language is lot about everything of human life. As it is written here in this slide, that a human language can be used to pass on knowledge, where definitely every human being possesses some knowledge, and this knowledge is being passed on to generations, from one generation to the other generation. So what happens? A human language can be used to pass on knowledge whose source is first hand or not. we are not concerned about the source of the knowledge, but still its passing on is done only by the use of the language. Stories which are entertaining or boring, it is concerned with different kind of stories. You know, stories are a combination of words. Stories are about anything. It uses language. It is about the statements, that statements can be true or false. It's again of no matter. Actually, the main concern is that language is a thing that encompasses all. It is about anything that we talk about, anything that we read, anything that we listen, anything that we speak. Language is a beautiful combination of so many things. All languages are multi-layered systems with different rules that operate simultaneously at different levels. Another important feature, another important thing, another important fact about the language, that all languages are multi-layered systems. Firstly, we said that the languages are a system. They are a system, they are not a closed system. They are an open-ended system that allow entries. Now another dimension to that system, that this is a system, that languages are a system that have multi-layers. There are so many layers within the layers of the things, with different rules that operate simultaneously at different levels. It has got different levels, it has got layers of the language. Yes, what do we actually mean by the multi-layered things? Languages have rules that organize sounds into meaningful units, and rules that organize those meaningful units into more complex units. Many of the rules that govern the organization of sounds seem to be entirely independent of the rules that organize meaningful units, yet they operate at the same time to the some strain. At least two systems are at work in creating and comprehending any utterance. Hope this is clear to you, that languages have rules that organize meaningless sounds into meaningful unit. The first thing is that the languages, there are the things that are meaningless, there are the things within language that have some sense, that make some sense. So language is, as we said, is a system. It is governed by the rules, by different, it has some operational procedures. So what happens, languages have the rules that organize some meaningless sounds into meaningful units. When we hear different individual sounds of the language, definitely the sounds does not make any sense on their own. Let me give you an example of the sounds. For example, p, the sound b, the sound t, the sound k. These are different individual units of sound. As you can see that these are very much meaningless. They don't make any sense because they are individual, they are standing, they are being pronounced on their own. What happens actually, language would be having the rules to organize these individual units into, to turn them into one meaningful unit. That is, we call them roughly morphemes. Morphemes is a combination of words. Definitely these different sounds are combined up to make something meaningful, that is a morpheme. Let me give you one example. As there is a word car. The word car is a combination of three sounds. The first is ka, and second is a, the third is r, car. Whereas these three individual sounds don't make any sense on their own. While we combine these three sounds, they make up ka, a, r. It makes up car. That is one word. So we see that how different, by applying different rules, we are turning one word, we are turning different individual sounds into one meaningful word. Second is, and rules that organize those meaningful units into more complex meaningful units. As we see that cars is a meaningful unit, it has got its own meaning, but then these meaningful units would combine with some other components of language, and it would make more complex units. For example, one word car can be turned into a phrase. For example, the phrase the expensive car. This is one phrase. This is an adjectival phrase, or we can say this is a noun phrase. Noun phrase, that is a combination of one noun, where noun is the head word, as well as it's a combination of one adjective, that is expensive. The expensive car, it makes one phrase, and then this phrase turns into clauses. Clauses is a unit that comes after phrase, and that has a subject and a predicate of its own. For example, I have got my expensive car. I have got my expensive car is one clause. Then when different clauses combine up with each other, they make up sentences. For example, I have got my expensive car and I will be traveling to Multan by this car. This is a combination of different clauses, and it has make a sentence. It has make sentences. This is how. So I hope now you are understanding the concept multi-layered, that how language is multi-layered. Firstly, it started with the individual sound units. It moved on to different words. Words moved on to phrases. Phrases made up the clauses, and the clauses made up different sentences. Many of the rules that govern the organization of sounds seems to be entirely independent of the rules that organize meaningful units, yet they operate at the same time to the same strings. Means a word, or we say a meaningful unit, a phrase, let's say, is a combination of different levels at the same time. A phrase can be a beautiful combination of the sounds of different words. Then at the same time some other rules are operating, and they have made it a morpheme as well, a word as well. And then when these words are combining and making up a clause, definitely some other rules are working, some other operational procedures are there, and they have made it a complete clause, and then from complete clause they have made it a complete sentence. And we comprehend that at one time there can be different levels, different layers of the rules that are working on these systems, that are working on these words, and this is what language is. Yes, this gives us the beginning of an idea about what language is. It says language is a system of rules. We initiated with the idea that language is nothing but a system. It's a system, it's an interlinked system where many things are interlinked with each other. It's a system of rules. Rules, what kind of rules? Of phonological rules. Phonological rules that are related to sounds. Then usually independent of their meanings, and morphological and syntactical rules that organize units that have meaning or the function. Starting with the phonological rules that are about the sounds, we'll move on to the syntactical rules that are about the grammatical rules, that is about the grammar, about the syntax, about the structure of the words, that how they are combined, that how they can come with each other to make up positive and correct sentences. And a collection of units on which those rules operates. Units that have meanings and or functions, structural information, and an associated sound, or more typically sequence of sounds. We are talking about the sequence of sounds. We have come to realize that language is not a thing that stands on its own. It's not a single monolith phenomena. Language is a system, It's a system that is multi-layered system where different rules are operating on different levels. Yes, we call the entire set of rules that govern the language its grammar. Yes, overall, the entire system that is the outer thing, the one thing that covers the language, we say its grammar. These are the operational procedures that have covered up and made up language. When we study language, then we must study the sounds the language uses and how they are organized. This is the first thing. Language, now we are looking at the subsections of language, that which things can be regarded as a part of language. The sounds the language uses and how they are organized. These are phonetics and phonology. This would be studied under that term. The second is how words are formed. And how words are formed, we'll be looking at the aspects of morphology. Then how sentences are formed. Firstly, we looked at the sounds, then the words, and then came how sentences are formed, how different sentences that make up. It's a syntax or the grammar. What meanings are available and conveyed. It's about semantics. While we look at semantics, what the actual most basic functional meaning bearing units are, their forms and the meanings. We are looking at the lexicons as well. The study of language encompasses so many things, and we'll be turning in the next lecture to these things. Yes, wherever there are people, there is language. This is quite true, and this can be easily be understood that where there are people, there are languages. Definitely everybody speaks, everybody communicates, and language is that primary basic need of every human being that makes them communicate, that makes them interact with the people. It is a means of communication. If there is no language, there is no communication, and there is no communication, definitely there is no life. So we can say wherever there are the people, there is always a language. There is no group of people so primitive that they do not have a language. What do we mean by that actually? Because it is understood, it has been said that perhaps language is not a very primitive invention. People started learning language with the passage of time, and when the modern eras came, they developed the language, and perhaps in primitive times, in the olden times, there used to be no language. Can you understand? Can it be possible that there was no language? All that stuff which is talked about, most simply sets of linguistics units and rules to combine them. So this is quite perhaps, this is a myth, this is a misunderstanding, perhaps that there were no languages in the primitive time, because before this we just stated that where there is language, where there are the people would be. So this is true in both the cases. If there would be the people, the languages would be there. If there won't be the people, the languages won't be there. So how can this be possible? Then in primitive time we think that there were no people and there were no languages. No, this is not true. Yes, all languages have grammars. In fact, all languages have highly complex grammars. Yes, this is another thing, another fact about the language, that all languages have grammars. Grammar is what basically? Grammar is a set of rules. A set of rules. It's the operating system of a language. If we say that there is any language, so definitely there are the rules, there are the functions that a language is following. there are some operational procedures that a language must follow, that the languages have been observing. So all the languages have grammars. If we agree to think that there were some languages in the past that were available with the primitive people, so we must also agree that the languages were having some standard rules and the procedures to follow. That simply we can say that all the languages had grammar. In fact, all the languages have highly complex grammars, because the grammar is, is the core, is the processing thing, is the procedure, is the rule, is the standard. These are the norms of something. So the norms definitely are complex. So there are no primitive languages, no structurally simple languages has been found ever anywhere. A very interesting fact about language, that there is no structurally simple language has been found ever anywhere. Definitely we are agreeing first that there have been many languages, there have been as many languages as many people have been there. Perhaps most of the people have been sharing the same languages. So if the languages were there, definitely it must be having some rules, some grammar, some standard procedures. If we agree that there were some procedures, then we come to the point that these procedures, these rules were not simples. That simply the grammars of languages were not simple. They were very, very much complex. There are no primitive languages, so no structurally simple language has been found ever anywhere. Not all languages are complex in the same rules systems, but all the languages are complex. We cannot say that one simple language is simple. That language is complex, so that is very, very complex language. No, there is no such rule in the world. There is no such language in the world. The languages are not simple, so they are very, very complex. Everything we discover about ancient languages shows the same complexity. All modern languages that have been studied have turned out to be complex. We cannot deny the complexity, the structures of any of the languages of the world. We say, yes, the languages are there, they are complex, although the more we study, the more we got to know about that specific language, but it does not mean that we can deny about the structure or the complexity of any specific language. Yes, the next thing is the relationship between sounds and meaning is arbitrary. Another very interesting thing, another interesting feature about the language, that the relationship between sounds and meaning is arbitrary. It's arbitrary means it is not tangible one. If, let's say, there is one example, if there is a chair and there is a thing, there is an object that is chair, and there is a word that is chair that has the spellings CHAIR. What is actually the relationship between this word and this object? Is there any relationship? No, there is no relationship. Actually, the relationship between the word and the object, it's arbitrary. It's not tangible one, it's not reasonable one. There is no rationale behind calling one chair a chair. Another example, let's see, if this is a pen, this is a pen, it has got an arbitrary relationship with the word pen. We cannot give any reason that why is it so. This is so because this is so. It has got an arbitrary relationship between the word and the object. Then another arbitrary relationship is found between the sounds and the meanings. For example, For example, the sounds pen, P-E-N. Why are we calling those specific sounds pen by the meaning of this thing? Why? There is no logic, there is no reason. This is another quality of language. This is known as arbitrariness. There is an arbitrary, we say, relationship between the actual object, between the meaning of the object and the object itself and sounds itself. Yes, there is no natural or innate relationship between the vast majority of the strings of the sounds and the meanings they convey. These relationships are learned conventions. A very valid point about the features of language, that these relationships are learned conventions. We call it a pen because it has been called a pen traditionally, conventionally. All over the period of time, it has been called a pen. A chair is a chair because people have been calling it a chair since very beginning, perhaps beginning of the history. It has been called a chair. So a chair is a chair, a pen is a pen, a laptop is a laptop because it has been called like this. It is a learned conventions. There is no natural or innate relationship. There is nothing that is innate. It is just arbitrary. It just exists because it is a learned convention. People used to call it, so it is being called. There is no other reason, no other justification. Yes, the medium of language is sound created by the respiratory system. How a language is produced basically? What is the medium? What is the way? What is the channel for producing this language? The medium of language is sound. This is about the sounds created by the respiratory system. You take breaths, you respirate. So by the use of this respiratory system, you are going to produce certain sounds. These certain sounds would combine and make up the language. All other media in which language is found, with one class of exceptions, is derived from the speech. It is derived from the speech with one class of exceptions. The exceptions are the sign languages of the deaf. Yes, this is one very important point. Another important point of the thing, that all other media in which language is found, with one class of exceptions, is derived from the speech. The exceptions are the sign languages of the deaf. Yes, all the mediums, all the media that is being used is that of the speech. There's just one exception, and the one exception is that of the languages. This is the sign languages, the languages of that have symbols, and this is basically used by the deaf. Writing specifically is not the primary or the real form of language, of which speech is just a defective reflection. Writing is a way to encode language in a secondary medium. In the history of language, speech precedes writing, and many languages have never been written. In the history of individuals, speech precedes writing, and many individuals are never literate. Yes, writing specifically is not the primary or the real form of language. This is a very, very misconception of about the language, that language is the primary thing. Language comes first. Within the language, writing comes first, and then the speech is secondary. It has got less importance, and the more importance is given to writing. Why? The reason is that because perhaps people thought that writing is more permanent, it can be passed on to from one generation to the other generation. It is good to keep the records, but and they said the speech is temporary. Whatever you speak, perhaps you have forgotten it on the very next moment. You don't repeat it. There are so many repetitions in your speech. There are so many lags in your speech. So what happens? That they say that writing is a way to encode language in a secondary medium. This is within writing, we are actually encoding it to do something else. In the history of languages, speech precedes writing. Historically, while we look at the importance of writing and speech, we see that speech precedes writing, that speech used to come first and then writing used to come later, and many languages have never been written. There were so many languages that have never ever been written, but it does not mean, and we can never ever say that those languages do not exist. No, those languages existed. They had importance, they were prestigious, fine, but perhaps they have been extinct, they have vanished away, perhaps because its written record was not found. In the history of individuals, speech precedes writing, and many individuals are never literate. This is one very, very interesting thing about the writing and the speech, that in the history of the individuals, historically, while we look at the things, we say that speech precedes writing. Speech comes first, then comes writing, and many individuals are never literate. But it does not mean, we know literate means to be in a position to read and write something, but it does not mean that if a person cannot write, if a person is not good at writing anything, it does not mean that person does not have language. That person possesses language, and language is there. Language is an inevitable part of that person's life, but if a person is not proficient in one aspect of that language, we cannot deny his or her importance. Language is a productive, creative, and language is infinite. A very versatile quality of language, that language is productive. We can produce so many things. It is creative. We can create numerous thousands and thousands of sentences. We can combine the words into innumerable combination of words. We can make them into infinite number of utterances. We can give so many new creative expressions. We can use them in as much ways as much we can. So language is productive. It allows productivity. It allows, as told you in the very beginning, that language is an open-ended system. If it is open-ended, it allows flexibility. It allows other things to come in and to make it more flexible. It is more flexible. It gives entrance to the other things. The people can change it. People can be as much creative as they can, and language accepts. So language is productive, creative, and language is infinite. New sentences never uttered before are constantly being produced or created. Yes, this is so true. Let's take my example. I have not been using the same sentences, the same constructions, the same grammatical structure as I used to use earlier in my life, let's say in my school life or in my college life, because perhaps at that time we being so restricted about one thing, we were so conscious that only these structures can be used and the new structures are not acceptable, and we used to be restricted. I just remember one thing of my school days. Actually, I used to be good in my English studies. One day, our teacher asked us to write an essay on something, and I wrote so many new constructions, new sentences in that essay. And my teacher at the time said me, "Oh no, you're not allowed to do that." Perhaps being they were very, let's say, they were very typical kind of teachers, believing in certain rules and regulations, but that creativity is good, and language allows creativity. Language lets you be productive, be more creative, more innovative in your utterances, in your expressions. Both the speakers and the hearers are capable of comprehending these new utterances. Yes, what happens actually, the things that were not acceptable a few years back are being more acceptable these days. It is an open-ended system. It allows creativity. So what happens, it would allow not only the utterance but also the acceptance of those utterances as well. There is no limit to the number of sentences which can be produced, nor there is any principle, any longest sentences. Means it is quite free, it is open. You can go, you can enter, you can be creative, you can be motivated. It allows everything. Language lets you be open about so many things. You can use it the way you want. As a very good example of this thing is that previously, there were very much strict rules about the tenses. वही जो हमारा होता है कि there were 16 tenses of language. So the students are asked to know that present definite tense is going to start with ta hai and all that. These 16 tenses हैं, the 4 of present, past and future. But you know what has happened? With the passage of time, the traditional things are being changed. There is a great change in the language. We are coming up towards the end of the future tense perhaps. Now the future tense or these kind of tenses are not in use. Perhaps people like more simpler and more clearer expressions rather than those typical jargons that used to put them into one fixed box. The people are more open-minded now. Even language itself is the same, because language is, it is the property of people. Yes, another important thing about language, it is that all languages are complete. We cannot say that one language existed in the primitive times and that was not complete. That was a very language that was spoken with a very small range of the people. It did not have larger audiences. So what happened actually, we cannot say this. All languages are complete. They have everything. They would have the rules, they would have the functions, they would have the form, they would have structures, they would have all the levels of a language that a successful and an international language can have. All languages are complete in itself. Every language has built-in devices for expansion to cover new areas of discourse: coining, blending, compounding, derivation. Yes, we are discussing the language is open. It allows entries. Every language has built-in devices. Built-in devices means within the language there are some structures, there are some softwares, there are some devices that allows the expansion of a language to cover new areas of discourse. Discourse, we'll be discussing it later on. To discover discourse is, for your understanding up till now, is that discourse is something that goes beyond the level of sentence. One complete conversation is a discourse. Every language has built-in devices for expansion to cover new areas of discourse. new areas of discourse. What can these be? The first one is coining, where you are coining is the invention of some new words, where some new words are coined. We use the term coin. Coin is about the invention, about the discovery, about the exploration of some new words and the new concepts. So languages are open to coining. Language allows blending. Blending where the words of some other languages come and blend up within the existing languages. So languages allow blending as well. Languages allow compounding and derivations. Compounding once again is a combination of the two words. It allows the compounding where the two words come up together, they make up a new word, and then they stay there. They are held as a new word in that specific language, and that is acceptable. There are some derivations, definitely. Derivations are also allowed in one language. Yes. The next thing is that all languages can be used to refer to the things dissociated from the Speech Act in time and space. Yes, another important thing, all languages can be used to refer to the things. Languages, firstly, the languages, not one specific language, rather all the languages. All languages can be used to refer to the things. They can be referred to the things from the Speech Acts, from the things that you say and you do, without the relevance of time and space. Without any issue of the time and space, the languages can be used to refer to anything. No language constrains in its speakers to the talking only about the here and now. All languages have the mechanisms for talking about the past, the future, and entirely unreal times and the places, which allows its speakers to tell stories and lies. Contra George Orwell, no languages can force its speakers to lie or to tell the truth. Yes, no language constrains its speakers to talking only. This is not only about talking, about here and now, that is present. This is not only about the present era. I just told you, it's free of time, it's free of space, it's free of the situation, it's free of the context, it's free of the culture, it's free of the traditions and the conventions. It includes everything. It is open, it allows everything. All languages have the mechanisms for talking about the past. Definitely, you may use the language, you may talk about the past things that have been gone. The future, you can easily talk about the future that is to come by using a language, and entirely unreal times and the places. Definitely, language is once again not a thing that would restrict you and would ask you to speak only of the real times. You can go into your utopia, you can think of something else, you can speak of something else. It is up to you. You can use the language in any way, the way you want. You can entirely talk about the unreal times, perhaps that have never been in your life, or perhaps that can never be in your life. The places, suppose you can talk about the places that you have never ever visited, that you have never ever seen, and perhaps you can talk about them. You can use the language. The language allows you to use the language to talk about the places you wish to be, you wish to go in future, or you have visited in your past. You may do it whenever you want. It allows its speakers to tell stories and lies. Definitely, you by the use of the language, you can talk about anything. And George Orwell says, no language can force the speakers to lie or to tell the truth. Definitely, language, as I said you, it poses no restrictions. There are no restrictions, there is no confinement. You are not supposed to abide by certain rules. Definitely the rules are there. There are some procedures, as I told you earlier, the rules, but still, if you want to say, there is the freedom. There is no as such restriction for the use of language by the language. You can tell a lie or you can tell a truth. It's up to you, entirely up to you. Yes, another thing, all languages change over time. Another feature of language, yes, they do, because languages do not stay, they are not stagnant. As the people, the things keep changing, people come, people go, they are human being, they die, and perhaps so do the languages. It is according to research that languages have been dying. Actually, there is so many research that is being done about the endangered languages that are perhaps in the danger of dying, or perhaps there are the instances that have been evidenced that perhaps there is if there is one speaker left of one certain language, if that person would die, so that language would die. These are the instances, these are the things that have been reported through research. So we say the languages change, they do not stop, they keep changing. And suppose if a language is not completely dying, it is existing, it would start changing. Even within our upcoming lectures, we'll try to trace out the changes that English has been going through. You will see very clearly that in the old English, you will not be able to read perhaps not even a single sentence, not even a single word of English. It has changed so much. In the past times, if you would have been going through the literature, there has been so many words that have changed up till now. If we read Shakespeare, his language was so changed. The languages that are there these days of English, it is quite changed. He has used, Shakespeare has used a lot the words like thou, thy, word. These are thou is a word that is used for you. Word, W-E-R-T, is a word that is used for were. So these are the different, this is just one example of language change. So we must agree, and it is also proven through research, that languages change over time. The phonology changes, the morphology changes, the syntax changes, the lexicon changes. Everything about the language is subject to change over time, and every stage of the change has still got the properties of all other human languages. Yes, there are a few things, language itself is a combination of sounds, words, of symbols, of the grammar, of different structures. Like if language is going to change, if the overall things are going to change, its internal things would also be changing with the passage of time. The phonology means the sounds would change. The morphology changes, the words would change, the combination of the words would change with the passage of time. The syntax changes, the grammatical rules. Initially we had some in traditional generative grammar by Chomsky. We have traditional grammar, we have modern grammar. Before this we used to have, as I just gave you example, that there were 16 tenses that we used to teach to our students, but now these days there are no more these 16 tenses. They have been squeezed and shortened. So everything changes, even the grammatical rules of the languages also change. The lexicon changes. The lexicons are the lexical items, the words, it's the words changes, definitely their meanings change. Everything about a language is subject to change over time, and every stage of the change has still got the properties of all other human languages. Language changes, it does not become corrupt, it does not deteriorate, it changes. Yes, maybe if we are saying on one stage that language is dying, there is a language death, maybe it is not deteriorating. The thing is that perhaps that has changed so much of its shape that it has emerged as a new language, as a purely new language. So it does not mean that the languages are being corrupt, rather the languages are being changed. Let's start discussing now some characteristic features of a language. Yes, the first thing that comes in the language, the characteristic features of a language is that language is a system at many levels. We have been talking about language. We've talked that this is a system, this is an open-ended system. Yes, it is a system, at multi-layered system, that is at many levels. All languages have two levels. The two main levels, we can say, these are called duality of patterning. This consists of meaningful and a meaningless component. Actually, while we talk about the multi-layered system of language, we say that there is the duality of patterning in the language. Yes, the first one is meaningless component. Meaningless, what would be the meaningless component? Meaningless would be the phonemic component. Phonemes are the smallest meaningful components that constitute the sound system of a language. Yes, what are phonemes? Phonemes are the smallest meaningful units of a language, units of the speech sounds, the sound systems of a language. These are known as meaningless components of a language. Then the second is meaningful components or the morphosyntax of the language. What is the meaningful component? This is about the morpho. Morpho is taken from morphosyntax. This is a combination of two words. The first one is morphology. Morphology is about the words. The second is the syntax. Syntax is about the grammar. So morphosyntax is a combination of words and the grammar and the functions that it has. Morphemes are the smallest meaningful components of language. For example, the word cats consists of two morphemes, cat and sir. Morphemes can be grammatical, having dictionary definitions, or lexicals, affixes and function words. We are going to discuss these in detail in our upcoming lecture, so I'm not going to look at this in that much detail. I'm just telling you right now that language is about this thing, about the duality of patterning. Duality of patterning, how does it come? These are actually a dual quality of patterning. The first quality is that of that there are some things that are meaningless patterns in a language, the meaningless patterns, and then there are some patterns that are meaningful patterns, meaningful structures. So in this sense, it makes up the duality of a language. Meaningless is concerned with the phonemes, and the meaningful unit is concerned with the morphosyntax. Morphosyntax is a combination of words as well as the grammar. Then the next thing is language is human activity. So true, it is quite simple that definitely it is more concerned with the human beings. So it brings us to the point that animals, how do the animals communicate, by the way? Don't they have any language? If we are saying the language is a human activity, so what about animals? I hope it's a question, it's a food for thought for you to think and to tell that whether the animals speak or not, and if so, how do they communicate? How do they speak to each other? Though animals can communicate in a primal way, they do not have innate language abilities that allow for an unlimited number of novel utterances. Yes, the difference is this. Human beings have the language. We said language is productive, language is creative. We can create innumerable sentences, combination of words, expressions by the use of finite number of words. This is one thing. But what is the difference between animal and human communication? Animals, perhaps they do communicate. Yes, they do communicate, and they have very primary basic system of communicating with each other. They do not have innate language abilities. There are no innate language abilities that the humans have. Humans have such a complex cognitive system of language that they utilize it and then they try to speak, whereas the animals, they do not have this system. They have a very superficial, primary and a basic kind of system of communication, and that system is perhaps known as a sign language. If a bee perhaps wants to communicate to other bees, it would go and it would buzz. There is a sound. They would utter, the bees would utter certain sounds, and perhaps the messages are conveyed. They use certain symbols, they use certain sounds to communicate, whereas human beings have far more complex system of communication, of using language. So we say the language is human activity. Though some apes have been taught to use sign language, a paralanguage or a parallel system of communication, the breadth of ideas that they express are limited. Yes, there are apes, there are monkeys who have been imitating human beings, there are parrots who have been imitating human beings in their speech. They would try to reiterate, they would try to re-speak what is being said to them. So but these are very limited number of utterances, very limited number of expressions that they have. So this is a greater and a major difference between animals and human beings, that language is human activity. It is primarily, it is basically human activity. It is there, we don't deny that this quality is not there in the animals. Yes, this is there, but this is not perhaps to that extent. This is not that much developed. This is not a that much complicated system of communication that is found in animals. Again, another almost a repetition of the same thing. The language is arbitrary. Aside from the echoic words, there is no intrinsic relationship between the words and the objects or the concepts that they represent. The concepts are something else, the words are something else. We cannot say that a concept and the words have some kind of logical relationship between them. They can be a relationship of anything. This is illogical perhaps, this is not rationalistic, there is no intrinsic reason behind that. It is anything, it is arbitrary. Language is conventional. Yes, language is conventional. How? Language is passed down from one generation to the next. It is the nature of language to change. Notions of absolute correctness are imposed by the writers, linguists, scholars, etc., and may slow down but do not prevent the natural process of language evolution. Yes, it is conventional, it is traditional, it is passed down from one generation to the next. It keeps moving, it does not stop. As you know that we, our grandparents, their grandparents, even their grandparents, even their grandparents, they used to speak, they had a language. All that's being changed. The language that I speak now, it is quite different from the language that my grandparents speak, and it is again, perhaps their language was a great change from what their grandparents speak. So the language change, it is conventional, it is being passed from one generation to the other. It is the nature of the language to change. Notions of absolute correctness are imposed by the writers. Yes, there are some grammarians, there are some linguists who says that language that is being used must be absolutely correct and exact, but no, but this is not so. Perhaps it does not happen and may slow down but do not prevent the natural process of language evolution. Yes, we actually have come across another new term, and that is of language evolution. The languages change as well as languages evolve. If one language is being changed, one language is dying, the others are evolving. It's a continuous process, it's a conventional thing. Language is sound. Yes, a very strange thing. Linguists are primarily concerned with the speech. Writing is a second activity. Language is more, is all, is nothing but the sounds. It's a combination of the sounds. It starts, the basic premise of language is the sounds. It starts with it, then it moves on to the next things. So, recap today. Now it is almost the end of the first lecture. I'll be recapitulating of what we have already done today. We started with what is language. We have looked at the language and we said that language is an open-ended system. That is the first thing. Language is not simple monolith thing. It is an open-ended system. Open-ended system, it allows new entries, and the focus was on system. It is not one unit. It is a system that is being governed by certain rules. And then we talked about certain rules. We talked about its condition of being multi-layered, that this language is multi-layered. It has certain layers and layers within it. Fine. Then we talked about different facts of language. The language facts were, for example, that language is arbitrary, language is conventional, language is a sound. These are different facts about the language. That we also talked that as many people were there were and there are as many languages. Language is not primitive concept. Language is a modern concept as well. If we talked about the modern times, and we say that there are modern languages, then when we talk about the old times, when we talk about the primitive eras, we cannot say that there were no languages. Yes, the languages were there. Fine, they were spoken, and they were as much complex as today's languages are. So we also said that all languages are complex because they are also a system. They are a complete system of infinite rules. They have structures. They have their own forms. They have their own functions. So we said that languages are about the functions and the forms. They are complex. And then we also said that all languages are complete, whether the languages that are very, very rich, that are very vast, that are great languages, that are international languages, and the languages perhaps that are spoken in a smaller region of a smaller country. Those languages are also complete. They would have everything in it as a bigger and a richer language has. Then we also said that languages are not obsolete. Languages are not corrupted. Rather, languages do not only deteriorate, they rather change. There is a slight change that is going on within the languages again and again. The language changes. Not only the overall structure of the language changes, but also the internal structure of language changes. There is a change on the sounds level, there is a change on the level of the words, there is a change on the level of sentence structure, and then there is a change in the overall meanings of a language as well. So language, we discovered the language is the language change is an inevitable part of language. Then one very basic characteristic that we discussed, that the relationships of one word with its object or the sound with its concept, this is arbitrary. We talked about the arbitrariness of the language. There is no intrinsic, there is no natural relationship that exists within the words and the certain things. This is all about arbitrariness. So we are going to wind up today our second lecture over here, and in our upcoming lecture we are going to look at in detail the levels of language. That will be giving you a very detailed view of that, and by that time please keep reading the things, keep enjoying it. I said you that the course book of encyclopedia, sorry, as I said you that the encyclopedia, the Cambridge Encyclopedia of Language by David Crystal, this can be used as one of the course books of the language. So you may go, you can find out this topic over there. There's so much description that is given in that topic. I hope that we'll come back and see you again in lecture number 3. Till then, take care and Allah Hafiz.